What is quantum astrology?
Quantum. You can see, you can influence and play along to change your situation. Before, astrology was a more passive tool. Now you can actively use it as a tool to change your life, experiencing yourself as a co-creator at another level. This is the essence of quantum astrology as I define it so far in this personal research project called research, because one of the definitions of research is when two systems are intended to be merged together. Later, a more theosophical angle will be added, not religious, but spiritual. This is the first program in a series of several. You are thus a part of an investigative process via my programs, and therefore I invite you to ask questions in the comments section or to me privately at maria@rainbowland.dk. Thank you for watching.
I'm your quantum astrologer, Maria Hjelmborg. I'm not only a quantum astrologer, I am also a Hellenistic, sun sign, horary, modern, evolutionary, intuitive astrologer. Welcome to my definition of what quantum astrology is. You can also see my lunar reports, full moon, new moon reports every 2 weeks if you subscribe to this channel. So quantum astrology is a term that I started using. I don't know if others have used it as well. I started being very interested in it 20 years ago in quantum physics. Astrology came natally from my family. I'm the second generation of several astrologers. But the quantum part came just before the year 2000. And that was my professor, math professor brother, and my father, a librarian, book critic father. My mother was also a librarian that was very interested in people like Hawkins and general quantum physics. And I started, of course, also in 2007 with The Secret and books like that. But way before, there were also several books released about it that my father was being a critic for. So he always got the books that he was reading, and I started being interested in the law of attraction and how we can change an object by observing it. So that was interesting. I have a great example of when I was in a meeting, Zoom meeting the other day with 70 people, and I talked to 4 of these people, and we all had a different experience, completely different. I was like, wow, this is the best meeting. I was just like, oh, in all ecstasy, and someone else was like, oh, it was a horrible meeting, and another one was like, oh, it was an interesting meeting. We had completely different views of how this meeting was. And when I talked to the one who had a terrible experience of the meeting, she is very into quantum physics as well, and she also mentioned that, oh damn, I didn't sit down to meditate and focus upon a good outcome of this. So I was not tuned in, my radio station was not tuned into what I actually wanted from this meeting, so there I went. And that's what's leading up to the next one. What is a quantum astrologer? What does it have to do with astrology? Well, in astrology and in quantum physics, they have 2 things in common, is that everything is energy. So if we take the astrology, the signs is like rooms of energy, the planets is like characters of energy, just interpreted into a sign, interpreted into a character. The house is the same, situations, circumstances of energy. Like even what we smell and see are interpretations of energy. That's why people use different words of the same smell, for example. Everything being energy, then of course it's obvious that quantum astrology, but why put it together like that? Someone wrote last time, oh, it's just a popular phenomenon. Well, it's popular because it's part of the paradigm shift, so of course it has to be raised in our consciousness, the awareness of it, because we now are learning that we are co-creators, conscious co-creators of the reality that we live in. So of course it's popular. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be so good, because if this is going to be a paradigm shift, I'm making this video in December 2020, then just like the 100 monkeys, where they made the studies about the 100 monkeys that went to the water to pick up water and carry it, when they reached an estimation of 100 monkeys, then in a certain area, then all other monkeys in all other places of the whole globe started doing the same. So there's a tipping point of when enough people understands this, then its knowledge comes easily to everyone. So that's why it's a popular phenomenon. But for me, it was a theory. It started just as a theory. I didn't really feel it so much 20 years ago. But now I can really see that it is so, that the radio station, that we are not containers that you just fill up. We are radio transmitters. We are emitting energy, vibration all the time. And you cannot receive. I mean, you will always receive on the same channel that you are sending. So you cannot blame others for being so-and-so, or situations for being so-and-so, because a situation and another person will always tell you also about which station you are on. So we can work deliberately with these things, but we have to work with our own vibration and energy. And how do we do that? Because we are evolving people that has things from our past coming up that we need to work on. Yeah, but when the contrast comes, whenever you have a contrasting moment, and Esther Hicks calls it a contrast, heartfulness calls it miseries. A lot of the prophets and also religions have called it different things with a negative term. Contrast is the least negative made by Esther Hicks, that term, but what it means is that they all talk about that these are blessings. Actually, the hardest crisis is your best friend, because when the contrast is big enough, now you're ready to release it. Now you're in the depth of the chamber. Now you're on the bottom of the lake, seeing the issue, and now you're able to let it go by not focusing on it and releasing it to nature, which is such a great intelligence. Nature will always be able to heal a wound when you cut your arm, or nature will always, if an imbalance is there, if a tree has fallen and is dying, then nature will come and living small micro creatures will come and eat it slowly, and it will then turn into something else. Nature will always keep the balance if you release your resistance of letting nature do so. And the resistance we have is often when we focus too much upon the problem and stay on that radio channel and vibration, then it can't change. So let's say that you have an arrow and a string, and you have an arrow you wanted to shoot over there, and you pull the string backwards in the opposite direction of where you want it to go, right? So you take the string backwards. Here we have the arrow on the string, right? And then the moment you release it, bam, boom, then the energy that you pulled it away from what you wanted is also the inertia with which it will move forward again. So there's an energetic idea behind why the contrast is actually creating the improvement. And you don't fix a problem by focusing upon the problem, but you acknowledge when the problem or contrast is there, that now it's getting solved. Now it's also risen to the surface. The issue has also risen to the surface and is ready to be shot forward again for a solution to come about. And we have access to the most infinite intelligence, and you can pick any radio station you want, any radio station, and stay there long enough. If you stay there long enough, then it will take you to that place that you want to go, because then you'll start receiving on that station. But you also have to be patient, because what you see around you right now is old news. It's old thoughts of how things are. It takes a while, or sometimes it takes shorter time. Sometimes you can just experience that, I'm tuning into this radio station, and then you just meet people who are only like that and have so much fun because you're on the fun channel. And if you are in a feisty, argumentative warrior mode, then that's the kind of people you will meet, of course. And you always have to ask yourself, are you asking yourself the right questions? Are you asking yourself, how do I feel better? How do I move towards what I really want? And then, instead of asking yourself, why am I always in this problem? And this is always a problem. Why are these people always like this? It always depends on what you focus upon. It's a vibration. Words are just translations of vibrations, and this is what we need to remember. I mean, so don't dislike negative emotion, because it's guidance taking you to better places. So no matter what you're fighting against, you're always fighting against yourself, right? So you have to remember that when you're in any kind of situation, that these people are like this, and I'm like, oh, how can we take them down? And then it's like, no, it's just a war you have inside yourself. And if you keep fighting these people, what is it? It's you are just the fight. That's it. So the law of attraction part is, in accordance to astrology, is that I am an astrologer, and you are on this channel because you've attracted this knowledge somehow. Maybe you're against what I'm saying, I don't know. Please feel free to write me in the comment section. I would love to have any kind of dialogue about it. It's always fun, and you can always learn from that. But usually I would say that astrologers are very different. I always meet people who are on the same frequency as me. So all the clients I have are very open people who are open to that. They are co-creators, because that's what I attract. And it's not because the knowledge I have about the stars is any different from what other astrologers have. It's the way we interpret it and the way we work with it. Because I'm not saying that Saturn in a day chart, in a night chart, and Mars in a day chart aren't troublemakers on the surface, demanding, bringing you into situations where you really have to release the string and just trust the process. That's a very important keyword, trust the process. So when there's a contrast, know that it's your friend. So when Saturn, for example, in a night chart comes in, and there's an illness in the family, and your job is taken away from you, you don't have any money anymore, and your house is having a leak and whatever, then trust that there is a reason for this. Something, nature is re-establishing some kind of balance that you might not see right now. But if you trust the process, then you will be open. We are receivers and senders, right? We're not just containers. So if you are like an open pipe, the more you trust, the more open it is. The less you try to act and do stuff about the problem. Let's act, let's do like the whole world always did. Or we need to have a plan, all corporations and the government and everything. Always a plan, always rules for everything. And I know I'm not against rules, because I know that we also have to have some frames, so it's not like that. But if you always want to have a plan, everything under control, a date for everything, you do this, then you do this, then you're also making the pipe tight and close, because what can run through a pipe with these many things put into it that's blocking the information for coming through, because we are receivers also as we are senders. So once we allow the universe to take over, the nature, God, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter what you name it, the energy, the vibration to take over, so that it naturally, just like a seed can become a flower, just like a wound can be healed by magic, because suddenly it's healed. Suddenly there's a beautiful flower, right? Just like that is a process that happens naturally if you don't force it. You never force something like that, or you don't interfere with it, but only do what it feels. Oh, now it feels like I need to water the plant, or now it feels like I need to wash it and change the band-aid or whatever. Because you're now able to receive when it feels right, and you are linked with everything around you. When you're open in this pipe through meditation, for example, if you sit every day to clear the pipe, to free it for any tension, if you do so, then there's most likely you will hear a subtle silent voice, which is your higher self, because your higher self will always ask or tell you, oh, this direction is good, and through nice positive feelings, fun, caring, light, it will tell you, oh, this is the way to go, this higher intelligence, your higher self. Whereas when you hear distrust and fear and anger voices, it's always your lower self, because the fear and the distrust and the anger is only telling you that you've moved yourself away from the center of you. You are now out in in the periphery of the carousel that just keeps spinning, and you're spinning around because you're here on the edge. So if a negative feeling is there, then know that you have lost your center, where I have the hurricane, where everything is calm and you have a nice overview and know what to do. That's the rule of the quantum world, that if you want to have a solution, then you have to be the solution in your own vibration. And the solution is never anger or fear, because the trust here in the center is an open pipe where you can receive the info of what to do. You don't think it through, because thoughts are old news. Thoughts, other people's thoughts, what you read in books, are always old news, because someone had to write it down, so it cannot be anything but from the now and backwards. Your intuition can tell you futuristic things, because now you're in a visionary part of yourself where you have contact to a greater intelligence that can come through to you, but you need to be in the center and be balanced, and your pipe has to be open for other solutions, so you don't focus on the problem, because focusing on the problem will tie it up, right? Because, oh, we have a problem, then you're not on the solution channel. So how would you receive a solution, right? So in astrology, when I send out my reports every 2 weeks, a new moon, full moon, where I also take in whatever is important other than the new moons and the full moons and the eclipses, I will always, as an astrologer, a quantum astrologer, show you the possibilities, the options of what's going on, where you can choose to see, this is what I can gain from that. So as I'm doing this, we're having, tomorrow we are having, as I'm recording it on the 13th of December 2020, tomorrow we are having a solar eclipse in Sagittarius, for example. So if you're a Cancer, then this will be in your 6th house. And I will have a report already telling you what that means for you, what is it you have to let go of health-wise or in your day-to-day routine situations, maybe related to work, that no longer serves you. And then which radio channel it's good to tune yourself into. That's why it's quantum astrology, because I always show you, because astrology is like classrooms you go into. It's a school schedule, a timetable of life, where now you're in this classroom, then you can choose to act very differently than someone else chooses to act in this classroom. So it's not like there's no option for changing a situation, that, oh, now we're in this classroom, so the whole world will just have this result. No, that's why that if you ask me in the middle of the night, wake me up and say, how's 2020 for you, 2020? I would say, oh, the best year ever. I never transformed as much, and I have never gained as much money and been as social as I was in 2020. And you would be like, what? Everyone else is talking about fear. Fear? No, I don't have fear. I have complete trust after 2020. So everything is relative, because I took this year and I used it beneficially to transform myself. I'm double Mars ruled, by the way. So Mars was really being told what to do by Saturn and Pluto, right? But I chose to see it as an opportunity to really grow and mature, instead of seeing it as a restrictionary year, where there was said a lot of no's by Saturn and a lot of endings made by Pluto, right? So my astrology is guiding you towards what you can benefit from, and also giving you some tools that I have from several different teachers, and from my own intuition, who gets the info from the infinite intelligence, where we can all get information, right? And teach you to be your own best God, creator, co-creator. And this sounds like blasphemy. It's not, because we're all connected. God is what runs through everything. God is nature. God is all. But if you don't allow yourself to just trust in the process, that's the same as connecting yourself to God or everything. Be authentic is also the same. And don't following trends, but following your heart, which is my motto, is as well. So ask me if you still have any questions about this. Another important thing is also that when we master ourselves and are in the center, and if we go for liberation, look who's up there. When we go for liberation, which is what many people do, I'm not saying that that's what you should do or not do, and I'm not going further into that, but let's say that what you are here to do is to master being a human being. Then my take on this is that mastering that would take for you to master all signs. This little one is a dirty fella. His name is Happy, if you haven't already seen him in the program. And he has a tendency of wanting to eat stuff that looks interesting, which is not always a good idea. Anyways, when you master being a human, I would say that would be when you master all 12 signs of the Zodiac. And each sign of the Zodiac has its oppositional sign, which is on the same axis. So to master one sign, in my opinion, is to master both signs so that you're in the center of the signs. That's mastery. So if you have the Aries, Libra axis, for example, that would be to master Aries is to master yourself. I am. And Libra, to master the company of others, to have a fine balance between feeling who you are and what you want and giving space for other people too in a diplomatic harmonic balance. So in the same sense with quantum physics, the further you are in this process, quantum astrology, the goal, in my opinion, would be when you can really master all signs and master that you choose your reaction or no reaction to anything because you don't need it anymore. You don't need to respond or react because you don't have any contradictionary energy wanting to change things how they are. You just are. That would be the ultimate goal or purpose of the quantum astrologer, was to lead people to that space where you are so free, or you see that you are so free that you can choose deliberately to create the life that you want. And you're not depending of that it has to look in a certain way either. You just here as a playground on earth, watching that it is a playground where we can have fun and joy and all of these sorts of things once we learn to master the different classrooms and master ourselves. Shortly, quantum physics, quantum astrology. Quantum astrology is to see that everything is energy, to see that you create your life, that you are so free you can choose whatever you want, but that at the same time there's a life around you that is showing you different realities where we through the astrology can be guided towards how to pick the fastest and easiest road if we learn to listen to our inner voice and our higher selves and the higher self, which is connected to a higher intelligence that can show us the highest potential that we have in this life from the standpoint you are at this moment. So it's the way of using astrology to liberate you, basically. Yeah, that's it. If you ask me, the new paradigm is all about the realization of that we create our own reality, and we do that through our inner world, through meditation, through learning to be receptive, through learning to feel how our vibrations are. And we will make that journey easier for everyone else if we, as the monkey we are, lead the way through doing it so that the rest of the monkeys can follow. Google the story about the 100 monkeys and you will know what I mean. So let's make that transition into knowing that we create our own realities. We are not victims of the other people around us if we treat ourselves and our yin energy with respect. If you book a session with me on modernshaman.dk, you will also see that, and it costs 500 Danish crowns for an hour, unless you have some discount code for the people who got that, then it's 400 an hour. But then you'll see that you don't even need more than half an hour with me. Some people need 5 hours because they would like to see the whole chart described, and that's what they benefit from. But I can also do a very quick session where if you really listen and you are open and we record it, then you can fly high from there, if that's what you want. So, and rainbowland.dk, also on modernshaman.dk, you can buy the Rainbow Land designs. In 2010 already, me and my friend Jenny Vestimaj, we had Love Patrol. I was Love, she was Karma. Karma Love Patrol it was called. I was Love, she was Karma, and I made these hearts, and she said, why don't you make the heart so you can hug? I made these huge furry hearts, and she said, why don't you make the heart so that you have your arms free to hug with the heart? So I did, but after that, Yves Saint Laurent, I think it was, made the design after Jenny and I had our Love Patrol period. But you can also buy them on rainbowland.dk, but these are my hearts. Filled with positive quantum astrology vibrations here, because that is what I'm passionate about. We all have a higher purpose and a higher best version of ourselves, that if you start focusing on what you want and not on what you do not want, and get and just trusting that you always get the best out of any situation, then that's what you will get, my friend. So see you in the reports. Thank you for watching, and we didn't have Happy as a visitor this time, unless should I call him in? No, he's sleeping. Can you see him up there? He's sleeping. Happy. Whenever I have a contrasting situation, because the contrast brings us to what we want, I'm always just focusing on Happy, and then things, it's the same as letting go. So what do you have in your life you can focus upon that just makes you smile no matter what? Water that plant. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Don't follow trends, follow your heart. Be authentic and trust the process. Ciao. Oh, by the way, I make these reports in English, Danish, and Spanish. So there's a Spanish version somewhere there too, if you know someone speaking Spanish or Danish.
There is this angel saying, I'm gonna find my way back home. The secret is love, he said. You've got to lift yourself up, try again, one day you will break through. What you long for will find you.
Don't follow trends, follow your heart.